Good evening and welcome back to the We Are Rise show. I'm your host, Brett C. Collins. How you doing out there on this glorious Wednesday? A lot of great stuff. President Trump is in Beijing. That's tonight's show. We're going to cover some of that. Trump versus China. The Fauci-Flu-Gaza exposed. Wow. A lot of stuff going back and forth. A lot of dirt flying around all over the place. You got Gorka slams Tucker and Fuentes. We're going to cover that. Ukraine Biolab's firestorms that are happening. We're hearing about what Tulsi Gabbard is about to release or investigate or drop. All this stuff leads into some way. It's all purported, all allegedly connected to with Fauci, the COVID pandemic, many other different sorts, many let's just say seemingly things that are being exposed. And I can tell you, you can't hide the truth much longer. You can't. You can't. People are getting tired of it. They're getting fatigued about it. You can't hide it anymore. And it's becoming such a problem that people are just like, they're being forced into submission. They know AI is coming online. It's going to be self-aware. Maybe, let's just say, a lot more other things. And you're not going to be able to hide the truth through that. I mean, that thing's going to be narrating a storyline to break out when people want to investigate on their own. I think they're going to have to come, let's just say, clean on a lot of stuff in some way. It's really about the questions, what is going to happen to all these people? You know, we always hear behind the scenes things are happening. And again, my thumbnail, you see what I showed you and stuff. I couldn't put that on YouTube. They blocked it. Can you believe that? I was able to do it on Rumble and Pill.net. They still, that's offensive. No, what's offensive is millions and millions upon millions of people are dead because the pandemic, because Event 201, which was exposed today on so many different levels. Let's welcome my co-host, Marshall Smith. How you doing, buddy? What's going on?
I'm doing good, man. It was a wild weekend. I was telling you, we were talking about earlier. Friday night, man, I got home from the band and there was hail, ice all over the ground. Had a big storm, and then I found out that 4 people got killed right near me. One lady got slammed by a tree and it killed her. I mean, I was only out for a few hours.
Wow.
And I was like 15 minutes from here. Nothing happened there except a bunch of rain. Anyway.
Yeah, there was a lot of tornadoes all over the place. I mean,
yeah, YouTube don't like you talking about the COVID shot.
What's that?
YouTube don't like you talking about the vaccine.
They don't like anything. I mean, I'm not monetized there. I just put it up there. I mean, people subscribe. People can comment. Subscribe and like. I don't really care. It doesn't matter. What's up, Rumble? How you doing? True Terran, howdy. No Dog, what's going on? Hello over here in Pill.net. What's up, Curious Cat? Thank you for the cookie. What's up, Wood USA? Yeah, no dirt slop. No, there's going to be a lot of dirt slop today. There's dirt slop all over the place. Here's a new name. Zero. This is Zero Cool? No, it's what does it say? Someone had it. Oh, Zero or Die Loser. Okay. What's up? How you doing? Alpha Omega Beta Pill. How you doing? Patty B, what's going on? Trusty Turnup. Thank you, Wood USA, for the 217 gold pills. Thea for the 800 gold pills. Yeah, Fauci on a rope. He's a rope on a soap, right? Or soap on a rope, whatever it is. I don't think he's even going to see time to get to that soap and a rope. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I watch quite a lot of stuff, but I want to get into some of the stuff that's important, and we'll go into that tonight. Like, share, and subscribe. Drop us a cold bill. Comments, questions, and concerns. You know what to do. You can help us out on Rumble Rants, buymeacoffee.com/wearerise. We also have a Cash App. You can donate, or you can help support Marshall, Ko-Fi.com/surfdog74. Everything goes into this platform. Let's move on with tonight's. I'm going to start off the Gazette Teller, because they had a great overview, a synopsis in some way, a summary. I think but it's very long. And so I'm going to drop it in the chat. And really, this is about China and the visit to China. I'll read some of it, but I don't want to stay on to this because I have other stuff that I want to get to because I have limited amount of time. So every move he makes on this trip flows from a single objective: force China to stop stealing American jobs. Look, China is basically the greatest pickpocket, grafter, bandit. They're kleptomaniacs, ladies and gentlemen. They cannot help themselves. They cannot help themselves from stealing everything. And by the way, let's give you as much money as we can by bribing and influencing people. Not only that, nestled into the country as mayors, as senators, as aide to congressmen and senators, as many different other facets. And we see what happened in Arcadia, California, with now a mayor that's been indicted is going to serve 4 years in jail for what? Being a Chinese spy. That's the problem in this country. The plan is already rolling out, and Trump does not negotiate from weakness. He dictates terms from strength. We're just going to go through it quickly. Trade reforms, a tariff reinforcement. We're going to skip that. Technology protection and security. Trump delivered a final notice on technology. Chinese firms that operate in the United States or do business with American companies must now open their books to U.S. orders or face total exclusion. That's good. There we go. I'm just reading the fentanyl crisis and the global deadline. On fentanyl front, Trump gave Chinese leadership an exact deadline of 30 days to dismantle chemical plants and precursor shipping routes that feed Mexican cartels. We already see that CNN is reporting on the fact is that they're coming out guns blazing. There's a massive clandestine CIA operation, or maybe JSOC or what have you, military operation in Mexico going on, and they're covering it to break up these transatlantic or whatever conditions between China and Mexico. Trump's team handed over coordinates and names of Chinese officials protecting those labs. That's big. Military resolve, regional stability. You get ending currency and resource manipulation. That's important. We're going to go through it. Supply chain security and industry base, rare earth minerals, and critical supply chains receive the same treatment. China controls 80% of the world's refining capacity for materials used in everything from fighter jets to electric motors. Greenland is going to be signed at the end of the year. We hear Greenland right now. There are rumors now Greenland is going to be in the auspices of the United States at the end of the year. That's what's being predicted. If Beijing refuses the United States, activates emergency stockpiles, fast tracks new mines on American soil and in allied nations, uprooting domestic infiltration. This is the key. All right. Inside intelligence community, the briefings Trump received before the trip laid out, full scope Chinese infiltration inside of American institutions. Chinese agents sit inside universities, inside corporations, inside the government offices, feeding data back to Beijing. The immediate expulsion of every identified operative. This is the plan. Shut down the visa pipelines that brought them in. Removal of federal funding for universities that accepted Chinese money to silence discussions on Taiwan. Criminal penalties for companies that place Chinese nationals in sensitive research positions. That's all I'm going to read you right now. I'm going to drop this in the chat. I think this is a good overview. I got more to go. I don't want to belabor you with all this stuff because I got other important things to go. And you know what? When you want to talk about these discussions about China and stuff, you got to wait to hear President Trump's commentary and assertions, because you can't really get an idea, because a lot of the stuff that he lays out that we see over and over again and time again is really about what? It's all about his comms and how the communication is going on with Beijing and how he's relaying it back to the rest of us that are watching it, that are just picking this up, not from the mainstream media's viewpoint, but from a different, let's just say, overview. Marshall, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this is partly the reason that we have, I don't know, what's the lady up in the Northeast, the mayor, the Asian Wong or whatever, Wu, I think her name is. This is why we have all these kind of leaders.
You mean in Boston?
Boston, whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
Them, and then you've got these crooked judges. China has a lot to do with all that. I'm not just saying, it's not just China, of course.
Right.
Because Soros is involved as well. But, you know, all these Asians that are in leadership, how did they just get there?
No.
They didn't just walk in. You know, go ahead, man.
No, they didn't. So let's going to continue on. I think in some way, I want to show you a lot of this stuff. This is part of today as we lead into or bleed into other stuff. So Eric Doherty puts this out. Awesome. President Trump just dropped the banger, infuriating Democrats. They can't stand 47 being respected by China. And yeah, China put on a very good, let's just say, reception presentation on the arrival of him and his team. All the funny memes, the mimetic words that are going back and forth about Marco Rubio wearing some type of jumpsuit with all the hip hop music in the background as he's trying to, let's just say, represent in Maduro. It was really funny, really funny. But this is the White House putting this out. This is Donald Trump. This was pretty good. Man, that's just savage. That's just savage right there. When you see that, that's just when you see that and how that's out and how that looks and how that optimally is viewed, because the Democrats seem to be in line with them. They don't mind being blackmailed, cajoled, being bought off, being paid off by the Chinese. They have no problem selling out this country to the Chinese in every capacity. Start with the Clintons. You could work all the way through the 90s, and we are today. So with former senators, Dianne Feinstein having a Chinese chauffeur, security, many other people, Falwell, and many others have that have basically fallen into the trap or the purview of Chinese, let's just say, espionage and wet work, so to speak. I mean, we don't know what these people have on each other, the blackmail. I mean, a lot of the people that are being subdued or being forced into these positions are doing so willingly. They're getting something out of it, or maybe they're not, and they have no choice. But either way, it doesn't matter. As long as people understand it and recognize it, that's how we move forward. This comes from Overton. This is another part of the Trump versus China discussion we'll have tonight. Bill O'Reilly just laid out President Trump's high-stakes endgame on Iran, and it all begins with his visit to China this week. All right, let's just play it. I'm not going to read this. This was a good overview. This is him and Chris Cuomo talking about.
Turn it around. So President Trump is gambling that he can turn it around, all right, and that all the prices will come down quickly if he can negate the Iranian government. So he goes to China. He asks China for help. This is not going to be made public, of course. Okay, China will say either yes or no. But it's in China's best interest, because if you know anything about the country, what they value above all else is order. They don't want disorder. It's bad for business. They don't want Hormuz. They don't want any of this. And I understand that President Trump is going to offer China an alternative oil buy. So they'll be able to buy from the United States.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Rather than Iran.
That's a great idea.
Okay.
No question about that.
All of
Much
that,
better than the come build your manufacturing factories here. I hope that's not true.
I don't care about the factories, but there was a reason 16 CEOs went on this trip, and that is to negotiate the beginnings of a major.
Well, I think there's a faux pas about that, because I'm reading there was only 2 on the trip. It's reported that they came, but they weren't on Air Force One, at least at NC. And there's a lot of subterfuge and sabotage about that Trump put that out there. Actually, it was Elon Musk and the CEO and chairman of NVIDIA that was there. That's what I was reading. I was hearing that all this other stuff is nonsense. I'm not really sure that other companies were there. That's what's being discussed and talking about. But I'm not really sure that the other companies like BlackRock or other them were there. Maybe they came on their own. But I'm hearing diverging viewpoints about this in some way. And maybe we need more clarification as we get into it. Let's continue.
Major trade deal with the United States. That's why they were on the plane. But anyway, what we're looking at here is another gamble by the biggest presidential gambler of all time, Donald Trump. If he wins and the Iranians do pull back and the economy does, explode in a positive way, that's going to mean a lot in the midterms.
Okay. I mean, what's your thoughts about it? Do you think that that's a great idea, offering them? I mean, the idea, hey, we're going to sell you oil. Now, the question is, what are we going to sell you oil at? It's always going to be about the price. Are we going to sell oil to you at a cheaper rate than we sell our competitors or other people? Are we going to sell it to the same amount that Iran is selling it to you? Yes, it would be great that China buys our oil from us. I don't know if they're going to do that, because they could see in some way. I mean, that's a good thing. But are they also going to buy their oil from Iran too? China might be looking at this saying, I don't know if it's a good deal, especially if you want to take Taiwan. So you have to consider what is going to be the give and take here. But we could offer them a sweet deal that, hey, we'll sell it to you at this price, which might be better than what they're buying it from Iran. And ultimately, without the problem. with paying all this other blackmail or leverage or all these other things, the extortion money, the new racket. We become the new mafioso in town. We provide the new protection, and we control the racket. That's basically what it comes down to. We're moving in onto the criminal enterprise syndicate. Anyway, the criminal enterprise. Yeah, the organization overall. We're moving in on them. All right, and we're the next. Let's just say controlling apparatus there. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's a good thing. Do you want Chinese manufacturing here? I mean, do you want individual investors here in some way? I mean, it's tough to say. We have to see what's going to happen with the university students. We're going to have to see with all the expulsion and let's just say all the people that are going to be ID'd as Chinese spies. What if, let's just say a large percentage of Chinese people that are in this country, let's just say it's 90% are all spies. Let's say it, even the 600,000 university students that are going to Harvard, Yale, whatever universities throughout the United States. What if they're all part of this espionage group? And the only way to curtail it is in some way and say, hey, look, make the deal or we kick these people out. It's possible. I think in some way we could force their hand. There probably is going to be so many give and takes. But the question is, why do you want to still leave the entrails of these people inside the country, knowing full well they can't stop their kleptomania? They can't. They can't stop their grafting and grifting. They haven't invented anything. They don't invent anything. Did they invent chopsticks or did they steal that too? I mean, seriously. My problem with China, okay, is that they can't stop that enterprise. All right. And what about the fentanyl problem? With all the shipping routes to Mexico and everything, when is that going to be cut off? Is President Trump going to be able to force China and Xi to shut down its operations of fentanyl trafficking that hits the United States very big all the time? Can he do that? Will that happen? I'm not so sure about that. But if we take out the intermediaries, which are basically the Mexican cartels and all these other different, let's just say, components that buy this product, well, then maybe that's a start to cut the production down. I'm not sure. There are so many things, Marshall, I think in some way that has to be rectified before President Trump comes home. I have a good feeling. It's positive. I think it's not the United States versus the Chinese people. It's the communist regime, the element of the deep state that resides inside the CCP. Okay, this organization of just genocidal, and you know what? I'm not going to say they're not lunatics either. Maybe they're not as crazy as Iranians or the mullahs, but they definitely have a death wish in some way that they want to see the United States at all costs suffer and pay because of that's how they're built. Okay, that's how their education and their people are taught. The resolve is that they can't give up on this in some way. And ultimately is that, how do we keep this at bay? How do we not lose Taiwan to them? Is Taiwan going to be in play in some way that they're going to be up and offered as a sacrifice? A lot of things are, like I say, contingent, Marshall.
First I want to say that Obama did not get that kind of reception when he went there. They didn't even give him stairs.
Yeah. He
had to use the stairs that lower out in the back end of the plane. So he didn't get the red carpet or any of that. The other one
is brought out the jungle gym for him.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing is with this whole thing, them visiting China and all of this, I think that they're talking about a lot of things, the money, the investment, this and that and the other. But I think that what's more important is what they're not talking about. And what they're not talking about is Iran. I have a feeling that there's more in this, that Iran is more involved in this whole thing than we're being led to believe. Because Iran and China are, Iran counts on China and vice versa. I think that there's more to see there.
Well, obviously, they're going to discuss Iran, but what does Iran play in the part? It plays about economics and oil. Why do they have to worry about Iran and the transportation and the traversing around the Strait of Hormuz in order for them to receive that when they can get it easily from the United States and maybe at a qualitatively cheaper price? And that might be conditional upon certain things that President Trump will, let's just say, stick and carrot them in some way. I mean, maybe this could be the end of other things. Look, we're not saying that there's many different types of theories and suppositions and what have you that are behind the scenes that President Trump is working Xi, Putin, India, and other countries to bring down this, let's just say, crime syndicate that's been, just plaguing the world for over a century, let's just say, maybe longer. And the idea that how far we're able to make these deals with actually China itself will basically illustrate how they're looking upon where Iran sits right now. If you're China and you're Xi saying, hey, look, why do we want to keep working in this? They might be blown away. I mean, right now, the United States is reconstituting. They're getting ready. I mean, this peace deal, this thing can disappear tomorrow. Who cares about gas? Gas is over $5. Someplace it's $6. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The resolve is now fixing this problem. Okay? We tried everything we can. We talked about the idea that Venezuela gave up their 6 months of, after 6 months or 6 weeks, I believe, Venezuela, we were able to get back and retrieve this dust that they had, this uranium dust that they had. I mean, who gave that to them? That's another part we don't talk about. But as for Iran, this is really about what? Retrieving this in some way? Is it all behind the scenes? I mean, it's just another fear of an actual, just another attack that's coming. I think that everything is going to be broached upon how we, let's just say, are perceived throughout the rest of the world through the China deals and what President Trump says. So when his comms come out and said, great news, this will impact Iran. Okay? This will impact Iran one way. Now, if China says, hey, look, we'll buy oil from you, we're not going to get it from Iran. Okay, so what does that mean? That means all gloves are off, then we can definitely hit Iran and just obliterate them? Is that what we want to do? I mean, do we really want to go that far? I mean, how far are we willing to go in some way? We got to take it to the next level then, right? Or is this, again, a lot of this stuff is just fodder. It's just bullshit behind the scenes, all right? This is all just a facilitation and getting some type of deal so people have time to think about how the deal is going to be laid out. And all the stuff is just noise and theater, and you're not really seeing a robust discussion or debate. That's why everything right now is sitting in a very tenuous way. You hear how the senators react to Hexit and Raising Cane. You hear how the Congress is reacting to them. You hear how the instability, the uncomfortableness, the question marks, they're just wondering, what is next? How do we go through this process? How do we fix our problems? You heard many people saying, well, we're going to push back against the federal gas tax. We can't have the federal gas tax. It's 18 cents. My God. They're pushing back against the gas tax. No, I've got to keep that money flowing in. It's really about the state tax, because the state tax, wherever state you live in, is higher. Okay? And each state is different. I think in Florida, it's like 35 cents. It's definitely doubled than what the federal tax is. In other states, it's much more than that. In California, it's definitely egregious. So I think in some way, Marshall, that a lot of people right now are just sitting back, taking a breath, trying to breathe in how we're looking at this. And I think that we should keep a good and close eye on how President Trump responds to all the talks, all the negotiations, and what's going to come out of it. Because I believe everything that's going to come out of this deal will affect directly, I think, Iran, especially how, who, and what is going to be buying it. And then if everybody sees that they're going to be buying oil from us, it's game over. Then they'll capitulate, make a deal, and force some type of situation, because they know they can't do that. They can't allow that in any way. That's my thought.
Yeah, and the numbers I'm hearing about the investment in China from China is they're talking $1 trillion. Now, I'm not sold on that without knowing the details.
Yeah,
because that's where the devil is at. But if they can be clean and we're not getting all these, like you said, the college kids, all this shit, and all these fake mayors and all this other crap, that shit has to be that has to be ended. and we can make a deal. And Trump, he knows that's in his wheelhouse, is deal making.
Right.
So, but it's got to be a clean deal. It cannot be some, we're just going to take over. No, I don't want to see a bunch of.
Well, whatever happens after this is going to accelerate. I believe that,
Yeah.
which is the trending word these days. Accelerate, because everything is going to take off after this. Whether it's an escalation, Iran, or a de-escalation, whether it's this or that, and the markets will change their tune coming back when he comes back from China. If he's saying they made a deal with us, and if he says that, watch the market change. Watch the actual oil and gas industry flip on the dime. I've seen a lot of people push back and say, what is he doing? You got to get this under control in some way. This is a temporary thing. But I think that if China has some type of, let's just say, leverage in this, or some type of sway or influence, I wouldn't say advantage in this. All right. This can also position the markets to flip and then cause this type of change where the strait will open up completely. We won't have to go to this blockade, and then Iran will be forced into some type of submission. If they lose China, okay, from buying oil, that's gonna hurt them big time. They'll have no choice, but I think to give in. I think this is what we're waiting for. This is what we'll see. So, Fauci-Flu-Gaza, okay, Fugazi, what cares? It's all exposed. This was today the most fascinating stuff I saw all day today that I was reading and I was watching, and I got a lot of stuff on it. Let's get to it, and I got it for you if you didn't care, okay, or didn't want to watch it, or you couldn't see it, what happened. Boom, career CIA operations officer just testified on an oath. The COVID lab leak was a deliberate cover-up, and Dr. Fauci was in the middle of it. I'm a career CIA operations officer. The intelligence community actions resulted in a cover-up. Here we go. Wow.
Introduction, and I appreciate the committee's dedication to transparency and accountability. I am a career CIA operations officer, and as you mentioned, I was on joint duty assignment at the Office of Director National Intelligence Directors Initiatives Group, or the DIG, between March 2025 and April 2026. I was responsible for leading the DIG's investigation into COVID origins, anomalous health incidents, and unidentified anomalous phenomena. I'm here today to discuss the COVID cover-up, the national security implications associated with the DIG's investigative findings, and CIA refusal to comply with lawful oversight, as well as how we remedy these problems. Intelligence community leaders and senior analysts downplayed the possibility that the COVID pandemic originated as a result of a lab incident. Motives are difficult to define given the scope of the DIG's review. Intentional or not, the IC's actions resulted in a cover-up, wasted resources, and a failure to properly inform policymakers. Public health policy would have been very different had the American public been made aware that a virus from a lab in China was going to serve as the foundation for an emergency use authorization mRNA products being mandated by the former administration.
Wow.
Dr. Fauci's role in the cover-up was intentional. Dr. Fauci influenced the analytical process and findings by leveraging his position to ensure the IC consulted with a conflicted list of curated subject matter experts, public health officials, and scientists. This included some of the authors of the paper, The Proximal Origin of SARS-CoV-2, and other public health experts who have been in his orbit for the last 20 plus years. Some of the scientists were part of the Biological Science Experts Group.
Wow. I got more. So everybody hold their powder because I got more to go. That's just, look, if you think that's bad, wait till you see this. It just gets worse. Gets worse. And I'll just break it down and I'll let Senator Paul, probably the only thing he does well is cover these things about Fauci. Everything else, I don't know about him. All right. But he says this. Listen to this.
Wuhan and that it might not be in his interest for the conclusion to be that it came from a lab that he had funded, that there might be a conflict. Did anybody ever bring up that he might not be an objective witness?
That was one example of an email. No one laid it out quite that clearly. You're piecing it together. We were piecing it together from multiple emails, from multiple agencies, multiple documents. It was more subtle than that. Nobody said this is happening, and unfortunately, I think they probably should have. It was all out there.
But your conclusion is that changing from the scientific consensus of it being from a lab to a neutral position by the CIA was significantly influenced by Anthony Fauci?
It was significantly influenced by Anthony Fauci's injecting himself into the IC. And to go to the second part of your question about what happened, particularly during the 90-day study.
Listen to this, and I'll get to my points.
Documentation that shows that as of August 12th, the CIA was considering calling this a lab leak, August 12th of 2021. And then that changed on August 17th of 2021.
Right.
And unfortunately, because the CIA would not provide us documentation that we asked for, we have no idea why that changed. And that's
And they
sort
weren't
of essential.
alone, because we know the FBI was coming to the same conclusion that it was lab leak, as well as the FBI. Senator Ernst?
Okay. Now, let me just say this. Fauci not only just covered up, as we heard earlier, the origins of COVID, and he injected himself into the influence and confluence of peddling lies contradictory, as you just heard the testimony there. He convinced a great many of different groups, lied to the senators and congresspeople through sorcery and black magic with malicious intent to sabotage the physical world on behalf of his occultist benefactors, to kill millions through a forced and poison injection, and to undercut the Trump presidency by stealing away its viability for the 2020 election. Through this wizardry, this witchcraft, all this stuff, this was the template that was set up. And the idea that we sit back and we look at this and we realize in some way, well, there's reasons why he's duplicitous. There's a reason why he was double dealing, okay? It was for pharma and biotech and his what? Overlords. He was conniving in such a way to the president at the time, which President Trump was, and he was making sure that he sabotaged every little way and deleted his footprints, okay? He tried to in so many different ways by misdirecting a lot of different people, by double dealing into the caveats of the discussion. And thus, that's why the CIA, even though the FBI was leading one way, the CIA was thinking another. They could not in some way come to the logical conclusion of the origin of this, because of the fact is there were too many narratives, okay, that were circling about like vultures, all right? And you couldn't really get to the thing, because he would go on the news on a daily basis, on every journalist, every news organization, every rag, and lie and say the opposite thing. He did it to Senator Paul. He's done it to the Senate. He's done it to the House in some way. Please mute yourself. All right, let me get out of here right now, because I hear you in the background. Ice.
All right, sorry about that.
What are you, in a hotel and stuff?
Sorry about that, man.
Making drinks. All right, let's go. Let's continue on. I got more of this because I'm really hot and heavy about this. There was a lot of good stuff that was happening. This comes from the Children's Health Defense. Listen to this. Anthony Fauci is sitting probably sipping margaritas somewhere with his multi-million-dollar financial success as a result of duping American people into putting an experimental vaccine into their bodies or risk losing their jobs. This wasn't something that was accidental. This was deliberate. This was duplicitous. This was double dealing. He made this sure this happened because the plan was set in place. All right. It was to sabotage the physical world. So what? We can be what? So we can either be dead, or we could be handicapped. We could be crippled. We could be sucked on life with medications that we'd never be able to do anything. We could be easily taken over. That was the whole point. This whole sorcery and black magic that was put over the world in one full swoop, that all these countries followed suit with it because of the WHO. All right. There's a reason why, in some way, that we are basically moving off the WHO and many other organizations some way. You see, FDA director, he's gone because he didn't want to toe the line. He didn't want to talk. He had different points of view. Well, that doesn't work, Marty. You're gone. Bye-bye. Hope you better future out there. So here we go. Senator Marino, he lays out some commentary.
This is what I hear from my constituents all over Ohio. Is like, great, you got a hearing, you said this and that happened, but they want to see the perp walks. Where are the people who made these decisions, and how do we hold them accountable? Anthony Fauci is sitting, probably sipping margaritas somewhere with his multi-million-dollar financial success as a result of duping the American people into putting an experimental virus and a vaccine into their bodies, or risk losing their jobs. He's not accountable to anybody. He's having a great life. He was featured on Vogue magazine. He sat there for a cover shot for a day, trying to get beauty shots of him, which I imagine the photographer found difficult.
Disgraceful. And yes, there are still, what's going to happen with him? Is he already gone? Has he been shuffled off this mortar coil? I mean, a lot of things you think of, are all these people been put into submission a long time ago, and that when you see them resurface, someone's playing their part, wearing a mask, it's central casting and all that. It's another clone, another actor just popping up, filling that so you don't get any ideas. Or is he really gone? Or do we have to see it? I mean, are we ever going to see it in some way? Or we're just going to find out one day that he just disappeared and he's gone, and that's the best of it? Is that really what we want in some way? Is that justice? Is that the justice that we are going to have to accept in some way? Well, I mean, what is the level of justice that we need right now? There has to be ending the truth embargo of this story. The narrative is coming out. It's slipping by the wayside. All right. It's basically what? It's self-emollientating itself. People can no longer control keeping and trapping the truth in this bubble. All right. The bubble is leaking. The helium is flowing out. They don't know what to do anymore. The dam has cracks everywhere. They can't seal it up fast enough. And then when you hear it from this guy, who basically is a whistleblower to a lesser degree, explaining this, he also is a whistleblower on UAPs. Did you hear that, Marshall?
Yeah, I did. I read about a lot of that over the past couple days. It's like, the CIA was trying to block this guy and all this. Mm-hmm. And, Fauci, you know what they should do to that guy? They should put his head in one of those boxes and fill it with the bugs, like they did with those poor beagles. I mean, this guy is a monster. And, like you said earlier, Brett, nothing's going to happen to him. It's very frustrating, man. I'll have to say that. I mean, he's a sick guy, you
got to think about it. Again, when I say this is sorcery and black magic, I mean,
yeah.
You have to understand that to convince the whole planet, the whole world, how many 180, 90 countries to do this in some way, to fall into this partition, to be controlled, and to sabotage the physical world, to hurt it, to destroy it, to weaken it, to decimate it, to murder it, to cripple it. Yeah, this is occultist benefactors reaping their rewards, sacrificing through Baal and all the other instruments they have. You could see who really controls this planet, who's in charge. And they were able to get away with this wizardry. They were. And they sold it hook, line, and sinker. People bought it. And now look what happened. Look at how many people are dead. Look how many people are crippled or injured. Look at how many people are shedding. And they're saying, oh, don't take ivermectin because it didn't work for COVID. It's not going to work for the hantavirus. Shut the fuck up. Stick a needle in their eye. Let me tell you something right now. I don't care if you took the jab or not anymore. If you tell me don't take ivermectin, stay the fuck away from me. We should have like open season on people who don't take ivermectin. No problem. Let's disappear them. These people are fucking crazy. And they still continue to push this bullshit. I am so sick of it. And you're falling for it still. Stop. There are too many other things that are right now on the plane of existence that we have to focus on. We are moving off this, but the point is, the ultimate discussion is what's going to happen with Fauci and Birx and all the people that were pushing this. What about the media? What about Pfizer and Moderna and Johnson & Johnson? AstraZeneca, where they pulled right away. What's going to happen with them?
And
I don't know.
Don't forget the dancing nurses that were
Oh,
mocking.
well,
all
I mean,
this.
one of the biggest psyop propaganda shit I've ever seen in my life. The dancing doctors, the nurses, all the
Sick.
people. Yeah, well, there's nobody in the hospital because they're all dead because they gave her remdesivir or something else, ventilators, and they were dead. So there's nobody there. But we weren't taking anybody in because what's the point? We're getting paid. MJ True puts this out. Does it make any sense why Dr. Fauci was given a pardon back in 2014? That's an interesting point. For over 20 years, several of the BSEG scientists helped Fauci rewrite definitions of gain of function in 2015 to lift the funding pause on dangerous research. Still, Fauci and others participated in Event 201, 2011, 2019. This was the coronavirus tabletop exercise, curiously similar to the events that played out during COVID-19. Listen to this.
In fact, several of the BSEG scientists helped Dr. Fauci rewrite definitions of gain of function in 2015 to lift a funding pause on dangerous research. Still others participated in planning Event 201 in 2019. This was a coronavirus pandemic tabletop exercise, curiously similar to the events that played out during the COVID-19 pandemic. And it was attended by Dr. Fauci and individuals with IC ties like former DNI Avril Haines.
And when you hear this, and your families, your grandparents, your friends, people you went to, 5 funerals, and you hear this shit, you're like, gee, Ollie, what the fuck just happened? Because even though people knew it was bullshit and a psyop, didn't play along, didn't take the jab, said basically fuck right off, walking around with a T-shirt as a mask with ketchup stains on it to keep the psychos away. It's sad. It really is sad. It's sad for what happened. Where's the atonement, the allotment? All right? Where is this? Where you can't get these people back? And the people that are damaged, that are basically suffered, that are crippled for life.
And now we got
what's going to happen to them? Where's their recourse?
We got Burke smirking and laughing at us, trying to push the hunted thing and all
I'll
that.
hang her by the fucking scarf.
Oh, I can't. Oh, my God.
Dude, someone find a Kate Spade scarf to hang this broad. That's apparently how they die by. My God, these people are evil and sick. I hope they're all gone. I really do. I mean, I want to believe. I do. I want to believe that all this stuff is taking place behind the scenes and all this stuff will be legislated out. And then maybe one day we'll read about it. Things will pop up. Maybe the truth embargo will end on so many different discussions. I think the idea that people say, we can't use a truth embargo because that was laid out only for UFOs and UAPs. You're going to tell me that you can't say there's not a truth embargo for every fucking thing that has been happening in our century of a lifetime? Come on, stop. Everything is a hidden agenda. Senator Rand Paul, again, from the Children's Health Defense. Senator Rand Paul just revealed Fauci bribed a scientist with $9 million grant to switch his opinion on COVID, starting in a lab, to the natural origin theory. If you're not hunting this guy down, look, I have to tell you right now, there's no way that this guy is walking scot-free. He better have an armed contingent. I doubt it. I mean, either he's gone or he's already been picked up, or who's protecting him? Seriously. I just don't buy it. He's not right now in the veneer, as we could see, from a lively shot, so to speak, meaning he's not popping up on the media. He's not like doing stuff left and right. So the question is, where is he? What's going on? Is he hiding?
Point.
Is he hiding or is he gone? I don't know. I can't answer that question. I don't know if that question's ever going to get answered, but you should be fucking pissed off. I know I was. Here we go. Listen to Rand Paul. Another good point.
Fauci objectively comment on a discussion of COVID origins when he approved the very funding that may have caused the pandemic virus. From the outset of the pandemic, Dr. Fauci shaped the conclusions. Dozens of times, He referred to the idea that the pandemic originating in the lab was a conspiracy, that it was a conspiracy theory. Dr. Fauci convened the now infamous February 1st, 2020 call. Some scientists on that call privately raised serious concerns about a laboratory origin. Yet, ironically, those same scientists later co-authored the proximal origin paper, which publicly dismissed the lab leak hypothesis. One author received a $9 million grant from Dr. Fauci's own agency after he changed his opinion from lab leak on the private phone call to natural origin in public. At the same time, Dr. Fauci coordinated with the national academies on coronavirus origins and public-facing messaging. These were not independent experts reaching a consensus. They were part of the same machine, designed to reach the same conclusion. The question is not whether the government may consult experts. The question is whether those experts were independent, whether conflicts were disclosed, whether dissenting views were preserved, whether the lab leak possibility was fairly evaluated, and whether Congress and the American people received the truth or a curated result.
Very good. Very good. I mean, Rand Paul is probably really at his highest peak when he's discussing anything with COVID and Fauci and really examining this. Everything else, I don't know about Rand Paul, but he does a really good job. This is where he really shines in a lot of ways, breaking down Birx, Fauci, pandemic, 201, the whole lie, the whole narrative that's in there. Let me say this. As he's stating, the perception management of opportunity and historical control, as you're seeing, is slowly and fading into the background. Yes, it is. And what the truth, not someone's interpretation, as Dr. Paul is saying, okay? Not the variance of degrees of that, but a realization there is nowhere to hide or hide it anymore. Too many have grown exhausted and fatigued by it. They were cajoled, bribed, blackmailed, extorted. That's what he's suggesting. He's saying if they weren't, okay, and they had a fortitude to move forward with this, we would have had a better idea and understanding what the levels of truth regarding this, where it came from, why did it come from, how serious it was, taking it down to the next level, instead of sacrificing our economy, where millions of people lost their lives. You got to think about businesses, the economy, how many people suffered because of this, how many kids suffered through mental disease, not going to school, how many people died in the result of this. You know, I don't know. I think sometimes the conflicts at interest, which are real in this matter, reside in the politicization, institutional, and self-protection operation. And so whenever we get to the end game of the truth, as we start to see, you know, little pieces just float around, okay, that we pick up and that we grind away with in some way, we know that we were right. We know, we see it, we understand it. And everything that was told to us, just that alone, was simply not true. Simply not true.
Yeah, and you know what, Brett? I still believe, even more now, that there is got to be a correlation between all of this COVID shit that happened then and all these crazy fuckers that are running around now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they just have one of those.
Suggesting that the people who were forced jab or reluctantly got the jab or just said, I don't care, I'm crazy anyway, I'll get the jab because I'm batshit crazy and I'm a lefty, got the jab. You think if they made it, they survived it after their second shot or multiple boosters in some way, that their mental retardation, a breakdown of like not handling life, not being able to function as a normal human being, having TDS, as I covered the other day, and as doctors are saying, it's a real affliction that is taking place. Is that what you're suggesting?
I'm not only suggesting that the vaccine itself could have been part of it, but also the PSYOP itself. That alone is enough. I mean, if you don't have a strong enough mind or will,
mm-hmm.
you know, and you're easily susceptible to whatever,
mm-hmm.
That's like a form of PTSD.
Right.
And then you had like these damn teen takeovers that are going rioting everywhere. They just had one over where you're at in Tampa somewhere over there.
Yeah, I covered it. It happened over the weekend. It was pretty bad. We have
Yeah.
a youth black problem in this state. It's actually a lot older than that, but we have a black problem. We do. We have a youth black problem. 12 and 13-year-olds carrying around semi-automatic. Some had submachine guns. Hundreds of people descended on, I forget what part, MacArthur Park. I forget what it was. It's just north of here. And just, you had cops, helicopters everywhere. Arrested like 30 of them. All under 18. Where are the parents? You find the parents and you lock them up. How are the guns at 12 years old, 14 years old, 15 years old? Who are they working with? Someone's orchestrating this. Someone's facilitating this. Some are rapists. Some are drug dealers. You go through it. They have rap sheets and they're 16 years old.
They should be
We have
tried as
monsters
adults.
roaming our countryside, and you call me the racist. I know I got some people calling me a racist on, because of that show, but I don't care. I'm very comfortable in my own skin. I feel like I think me and many other people, even James Fishback, who's running for governor of Florida. I don't see Byron Donalds. Big black Byron Donalds. Where are you, buddy? You ain't gonna do shit. Yeah.
Do not vote for Donalds, whatever.
I don't want a black governor. I'm serious.
Well, the guy's got all kinds of issues.
Hard. I'll play my friend. I don't want a black governor. I don't. And it's not because of that. It's because of the fact is, look at his background.
Yeah.
He's got a problem. I'm only concerned is that if he falls by the wayside, a Democrat will sneak in because that Democrat could easily take out what's his name? Jay
Collins.
Jay Collins with Fishback. That's what I'm worried about. Let me say hello to everybody. A boneless chicken, thank you. Gifted the shades. If Fauci was dispatched, why have us believe he's walking free? What does that achieve? Well, I mean, look, that's what I'm saying. Is he walking free? Have you seen him? I mean, we hear his name thrown around a lot. I haven't seen him. There's no pictures of him. It's a great point. It's a great illustration. It's what I'm saying. Why bother? You got to keep the narrative alive for the let's put it this way, the occultist benefactors that were utilizing him to do their bidding, do thy will in some way, the Satanists in some way. You got to consider that. Is that for his benefit, their benefit? Did you have to replace him with somebody else? I don't know. I really don't know. It's a great question. It's a fantastic question. In fact, I think a lot of people feel the same way that you do. But again, there's no answer. We hear a lot of talk about him, but where is he? Where's Waldo? Where's Fauci? You know what I'm saying? People should be walking around him if he's alive with a rope and saying, hey, Dr. Fauci, I think you dropped this. Yeah, you dropped this, buddy. Par 5 donated 219 gold pills, 292 gold pills. What's good, Brett and Marshall? Thanks for all you do, fellas. Thank you. Appreciate it. Hogleg, what's up, man? Long time no see. Thank you for the cookie. I think you're in here a couple of times. Thank you so much for supporting the platform. Let's see. Let me go up here. Hogleg, thank you for the can and the can again and the cookie. I know the subject's problematic. This is bringing up some old wounds, but we haven't talked about this, and it's the perfect time. It's the perfect time. There's a lot of stuff that's unfurling out. That's also there's a lot of intersectionality to it, a lot of cross sections. You got biolabs being investigated by Gabbard from the DNI. Thank you, Hogleg, for the cookie. Thea for the 300 gold pills. Yep, needle in your eye. Let's go. I got more. Let's continue on with this. I got so much more. Oh my God, I got like a pages long of stuff. So Catherine Heritage puts this out. She discredits this in some way. Listen to what she says. As early as February 1st, I began receiving credible reporting that DNI Gabbard's investigative team was being tracked and communications collected because their work was revealing uncomfortable facts. Today, James Erdman alleged to Congress the CIA, this was the guy who was testifying, illegally spied on a computer and phones belonging to Directors Initiatives Group, along with their investigations of contact. Excuse me, I don't think it was James Erdman. It was today that the guy that was testifying alleged that their computers from the DIG, the Directors Initiative Group, were spying. Okay? Listen to that. Along with the investigations and contact of whistleblowers. The CIA spokesman said the committee acted in bad faith by subpoenaing an agency officer for testimony today without notifying the CIA, despite having already obtained closed-door testimony from the individual previously. The witness testifying today is not appearing as a whistleblower, as we're led to believe, in pursuit of the truth. but instead in response to the subpoena issued by Chairman Paul. Okay, that clears that up. This proceeding amounts to nothing more than a dishonest political kabuki theater masquerading as a congressional hearing, as the CIA has already assessed COVID-19 most likely originated from a lab leak, and efforts to undermine that conclusion is disingenuous. So she says, credible sources tell me the elements of the IC, federal law enforcement, and Congress have targeted DNI Gabbard's Directive Initiative Group, DIG, because it revealed uncomfortable truths. Okay, that's her rebutting the testimony today and saying that this story, this narrative, was to undercut, was to sabotage, and we're hearing that in some way that 40 boxes, which I'll cover, 40 boxes of MLK, JFK, whatever, all that stuff, UAP stuff, was removed by the CIA from the Office of DNI. We're going to get to that and break that down in a little bit. I want to continue on with this because I think this narrative is important to discuss, and I want to break forward with this because I don't want this to rest. And I think in some way, what Catherine Heritage is suggesting, Marshall, is some way that we're not seeing the bigger picture. So was this just theater? Did he just bring this by request as a subpoena? And are they trying to undercut or being forced to undercut DNI Gabbard? Or is this just what? Some type of sidebar issue? Are they throwing shade on this? What do you think by Catherine Heritage's report?
Yeah, the CIA. There's a lot of dirt there with the CIA. They're trying to hide this shit. Obviously, I mean, it's just too obvious. If you could go through those buildings, I bet if you cleaned everything out, you would find so much shit going back decades. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I almost feel like the shit should be eliminated. The whole thing is start all over again. Cut half the government out and restart. It's insane.
Puts this out infuriating. Not a single Senate Democrat showed up today at the committee hearing a CIA whistleblower exposing the deep state cover-up. So not a single one. Listen to this.
There you go.
Senator Ron Johnson, the empty seats of Democrats, and we can show. I mean, look at that room. And even James Erdman, who is the whistleblower witness today, was asked about, and I believe it was Bernie Moreno who asked him this, how does that make you feel knowing that those Democrats aren't there? And he says that, of course, I wish that they were. I mean, you want everyone to know what he has to say. What is the take on his role on this, though, from Democrats? I know you said that there might have been kind of a joke moment with one of them, but they can't completely ignore this.
Well, they are ignoring it, apparently, Harris. We'd love to ask them what they think about this testimony, but they're not here. They're not in the room. And the witness has given some pretty interesting testimony so far. He's part of the CIA, active member CIA. He said that in August of 2021, the intelligence community was ready to basically declare that the COVID-19 pandemic began as a leak from that Chinese lab in Wuhan. And then the witness says that Dr. Anthony Fauci injected himself into those discussions, into the intelligence community, and was able to influence those conversations and get that classification changed from the potential lab leak theory to just a neutral theory. So we'll see what else he says in there today.
So Catherine Heritage puts what we just discussed. She puts this out, not contradicting it, but saying the CIA has already ruled on this in this way. So the point is, what is the narrative here? What's this about? Where's the leverage in here? Where's the sway? Where's the influence? Again, I go back to what I was suggesting is that what you heard, him interjecting himself into the influence and confluence that he convinced a great many of agencies and people to follow with and through. And I use the term sorcery and black magic, of malicious intent, of sabotage and subterfuge that he has done in some way on the behest of his benefactors. There's no doubt about it that he's convinced a great many people and used so many different disparaging points that he lied on every way on this course of these trails of breadcrumbs that he was dropping all over the place, and he couldn't keep track of all the lies, and he got caught up in it. I think Catherine Heritage is saying, well, they already reported this, and this is undercutting DNI Gabbard's, let's just say, discussion about this in some way. But is this just all theater? I mean, has anybody heard this per se? Were you listening? Is this new information? I thought this is for the normie and NPCs that were out there. You know, a lot of this stuff we're familiar with, we get, but I think people need to hear it again. And you know what? I have no problem. Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. People need to hear it. They have short-term memories, Marshall. They don't remember everything. They can't remember everything. Their lives are too busy. They're working multiple jobs. They got to pay for this. They got to pay for that. So they can't get caught up and not just listening to one thing or another that could be bloviating. They have to digest this stuff as it's laid out. That's why we're here. That's what we're doing. So, you know, as much as Catherine Heritage likes to be a little bit anecdotal and, you know, kind of in some way hypocritical, yeah, okay, all this stuff was already explained out, but people needed a visual presence of it, some type of hearing. People need to see this. And I think this was fascinating for a lot of people. I think this was a positive thing. Now, whether or not you can contest some of his arguments, do you believe he's credible? He works for the CIA. I'll leave it at that.
Well, and the fact that no Democrats showed up for that hearing, that says a whole lot right there. And yeah, obviously the reason they didn't show up, they didn't know what to ask. Right. Because if they asked anything, they would be caught up in their ass. So it was easier for them to just avoid the whole thing.
Well, they had no problem. Take the jab or you're going to die. Take the jab or you lose your job. They were pushing, take the jab, take the jab, take the jab, and COVID will kill you. Don't infect the herd. Don't infect the herd. There's no herd immunity. No, you're a liar. Because they're the ones who went on the fucking news 24/7 and lied to you all day. All day. Stay at home. Don't go to the beach. Stay 6 feet behind. Wear triple mask. Remember all the pictures of the mask, them kneeling with Nancy Pelosi? Kneeling to their fucking Satan God? Their Baal? You saw those pictures back then. Disgusting. They were subservient to it. They recognized it. They applauded it. They went along with it. Just like Fauci and his occultist benefactors pushing this narrative, they were all in it together. That's why I didn't show up. You can never vote for a Democrat again. Not as long as I'm alive. You can't. Vote yourself. Vote an independent. I don't know. But you can't. They all want you dead. Or better yet, they want to take a redistricting area, give it to some fucking idiot Timu black guy, all right, control that, and make sure that they have another situation with the George Floyd or Rodney King. They want that. That's how they want to rule you. In fact, what they're going to do is they're going to whitewash all that because the black people are going to wake up and say, you know what, I'm not going to vote for these people. They already got their people, the illegals and whoever else is on there, scam dead people.
Yeah, and the Democrats also didn't show up because, of course, they got all their money from Big Pharma. So why the hell show up? There's something that might tap into my ass and expose my ass. Right. I'll just stay out of it and avoid the whole thing, and I'm clean to go.
All right, I'm moving on. From Donald Trump, probably his account. Listen to this. This was yesterday. So I guess there's some fireworks that happened with the FBI director. He went off on a couple of them, as he should. They all suck. They're all liars. They're all thieves. They're all murderers. They're all part of the criminal cabal. Fuck them and die. And I like it when he sticks it to their face. I know some people don't like Kash Patel. I get it. He's better than Ray. You didn't like Ray, but we're all saying right now who left the breadcrumbs for Patel to find in the burn bags in the closet. I mean, it's like a clue game. He found the key that was hidden to the library of study where the burn bag was, with the candlestick and the rope. My God, let's listen.
Casting, leave law and order to people who really do care about justice and appearances. That is
what hypocrisy.
Really critical. And it's what I am really deeply concerned about, and so are many people. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Can I respond? This is what real leadership looks like at the FBI. Every one of you was given it. This is what's happened under my tenure at the FBI and the Trump
Stuck
administration.
on it.
20-point drop in the homicide rate. 45,000 violent offenders arrested last year, twice as many as 2024. 2,450 criminal gangs disrupted. That's a 322% increase from 2024. 6,900 child victims have been located since I've been in the seat. That's a 144% increase. 2,900 child predators and human traffickers arrested. That's a 70% increase. And we've arrested 8 of the top 10 most wanted fugitives in the world and 14.
8 of the 10 top fugitives in the world. Why didn't Director Wray do it? Why didn't Jim Comey do it? Let's continue.
Months. That's twice as many in the 4 years combined. That is what
In
the
4
minimum
years!
of the FBI are doing. Well resourced. Everyone should take a look at this. If people want to continue the baseless, fraudulent, false personal attacks at me, that's great. Keep the target on me, as I've always said, but the mission has never been better.
He just basically shoved it down their throats. And you have Patty Murray, this fucking weasel from Washington State. What an idiot. Get a fucking haircut. What is that fucking Uncle Fester haircut? And she's like, don't tell me about law and order. I know all about it. I make all the laws and stuff. No, you don't. You have no idea about anything. You don't. What a joke, man.
She avoids the loss is what she does. You know, and Patel, man, I'll tell you what, man. He is very good. Yeah, I got to give him, yeah. You know, give that man the curry. You know, give him some curry.
Give him another shot of bourbon. I want to try some of that bourbon that he's got.
Oh, yeah, he likes bourbon, doesn't he?
Yeah, he loves bourbon. He's not a Scotch guy. He likes bourbon. But here it is. So did you, Cash Patel, head-scratching reply when being accused? Let me play a little bit of this.
Have you had a chance to respond to allegations that are made? In fact, I was
this guy.
Do that, and you took that obviously. But in the
This is a guy who hung out with Embrego. You know, the guy that they can't expedite. They try to send him to all these countries, and some other fucking judge steps in with an edict or a proclamation of shooting it down, and he has margaritas with this guy. The guy was a trafficker, and he spent like $7,000 on a contingent group of people drinking and eating margaritas, and he calls out Cash Patel. What a hypocrite and opportunist this guy is. It's hilarious.
process, you made these provably false statements that I know are sort of like.
Oh, he knows. He knows. He didn't like getting called out.
Margaritas in El Salvador, which is provably false. And
Look
so,
how provably false.
coming from the mouth of an FBI director,
He doesn't like being called
to
out.
make provably false statements
Provably.
in a hearing like this is extremely troubling. And it leads me to ask whether or not the other things you've been saying are false statements.
Look at this fat woman in
And
the back
so
in the
my-
polka dot dress.
Because
Look at her.
that
Look at the smirk on her
false
face.
statement. You made a couple others that are provably false. And this is from the mouth of the FBI director.
The only
So
one
my
that makes
final
false
question-
statements is you.
My final question to you, Mr. Director, is do you know that it is a crime to lie to Congress? Do you know that? That's my last question.
I have not lied to Congress.
I didn't
The one
ask you that.
lied to Congress is you. And
I'm not testifying here, sir, and I don't lie.
maybe the next time you run up a $7,000 bar tab, we can talk about it.
Here you go. Lying again. You
In
suggested
the FEC report, I'll post it right
You
now.
suggested it was
Hang on.
public. It wasn't public money, as you know. That was for a 50-member staff party.
So he admits it now. And before he says provably false, now he admits it. Fucking hypocrite and
It's a
opportunist.
$7,000 bar tab.
Mr. Patel, I'm glad. Let me just say in closing, Mr. Chairman, two things. I'm glad that you have agreed
Guy just got called
to
out.
take the test regarding, whether you have alcohol problems. I'm glad you agreed with me.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
You still haven't answered my final question. Do you know, Mr. Director, that it is a crime to lie to Congress? Do you know that?
I do not lie to Congress.
I didn't ask you that.
And you're insinuating that I am.
I
because
asked you whether you know.
You want to correct your time in this session where you got steamrolled by the facts, so you can have a Twitter narrative.
Mr.
So you can go
Director.
raise more money and spend more money on $7,000.
Just
bar tab.
Man,
let
eat
the
a bag
round
of
go,
dicks.
Give
Mr.
it to
Chairman.
you.
The director of the FBI apparently does not want to answer the question.
The fat lady had some drinks.
Yeah, look at her. She looks hammered.
I find it troubling.
She was part of that.
Law enforcement.
That's why she was
You are
laughing.
a disgrace, Mr.
Call them
The
a
appetite-
The fact that you can't answer
Some
that question,
appetizers.
I will. That concludes my questioning, Mr. Chairman. But I'm obviously very troubled.
You called him a disgrace. Called the FBI director a disgrace. I mean, honestly, when you really think about these people, they are a disgrace. It's almost embarrassing. But he didn't like being called out, getting caught, because he did. And then he admitted that he got caught, and there's nothing he could do about it. That's the problem. Let's say hello to everybody out there. She never did. She was only a soccer mom. Who are you talking about, Alita? What's going on? Everybody over on Rumble, how you doing? Thank you, Thea, for the can. Hogleg for the cookie. Thea with the cookie again. Senor Polo, what's up? Brad, I missed the circle. You missed the circle. Senor Polo gifted the can. Maybe Fauci moved to Costa Rica with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yeah, he's hiding. He's hiding in the compound.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's funny.
That's a whole nother book.
Yeah. Brett, I missed the circle. That's funny. You know what? That's a good point. Let's continue on. I got more to go. I'm running out of time here now because I've been belaboring.
I gotta say, him calling out Patel after Patel said it. He had a 7,000 bar tab, $7,000, and then he turns around and says he has an alcohol problem to Cash Patel.
Mm-hmm.
What a lot of nerve! The hubris. Oh my God.
Yeah, I know, but that's the problem. They're hubris and their let's just say their opportunism and their ignorance of the matters. That how would you not think he doesn't know that there's a bar tab? He came in well prepared, ready to cut this guy at his legs. He did it perfectly. So Thomas Massey right now, Polymarket puts out re-election odds are taking shape, and it's about to admit hush money allegations from an ex-girlfriend are showing. So apparently these hush money allegations that he paid off some type of staffer, and then that staffer went to Sparks, and now X is saying on X, it's saying that in the caption that it's really about a payoff that came from Sparks, but he set this up. I don't know. I'm not buying any of this. He's not projected to be unseated. It's over for Thomas Massey. His days are numbered in the House. So, and that's it. And that's a good thing. I mean, I don't care what people think. I think the guy's a hypocrite. And if it's true that who's, let's just say, revealing himself as to be a pervert while excoriating and calling out Trump and everybody who don't want to give the possibility of all these testimonies for the people from Epstein. Why didn't they just want to show up and just, wipe away their NDAs? They don't want to because they're all involved. This thing was a setup from the begin with, and you could see how this is playing out. I told you that. It's not like, I think people just really don't get what Epstein's about. Okay? You don't. Because it's the inner circle of people that are being controlled and blackmailed through inside the government, outside the government. They're the ones you're not hearing because they're the ones they have dirt on. I'm not saying that Epstein has that, but that's the real Epstein people, okay? The people that are being blackmailed inside the government by intelligence agencies, not by him alone, all right? He's not a fabrication. There's still many questions about him. But at this point, it doesn't play into the mantra anymore, and there are bigger fish to fry. And I think eventually, like this subject, it'll move on, or it'll find a way somewhere else along the way down the river when we pick up more information that is revealed. All right, I want to get to the good stuff. I want to get to this because Gorka slams Tucker and Fuentes. Now, this was a whole big thing. I picked up on this. I didn't put this out on X, but no one was, talking about it. All right. And then I started putting in my Telegram. All right. I had 4 articles, all right, of different stuff. And then I saw some of these articles leak out onto X going all over the place. And I'm like, and they're calling this out, saying Sebastian Gorka did this and did that. Let me clarify in a lot of ways, because I have a lot of caveats and discussion in defense of Seb Gorka about this matter that a lot of people are running with. Fact check. Did Trump aide name Tucker Carlson possible domestic terrorist? Newsweek is a left-wing rag. But this is probably the most researchable, realistic article. I had 4. I had the New York Post. I have another one from Radar, which I'm going to show you. But how they're spinning this in some way to create and continue on with the MAGA divide. So on Wednesday, that's Sebastian Gorka, a counterterrorism official in President Trump's administration and orbit, had named far-right media personalities Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes is not a far-right media personality. He's a self-admitted moderate Democrat who didn't vote for Trump in 2024, never plans to vote for Trump, is supporting Democrats, so he should be removed automatically from this. Tucker Carlson, we don't know what happened to him. I don't know if he's still a conservative or not. But the idea that we're calling the far-right media personalities as possible domestic terrorists, that's how it's being postulated and posited. But it's simply not true. The White House this week announced a new counterterrorism strategy, which they will target cartels, Islamic terrorists, and violent left-wing extremists. Under the new guidance, the administration says counterterrorism officials will prioritize the rapid identification and neutralization of violent secular political groups whose ideology is anti-American, radically pro-transgender, I can't fucking speak today, and anarchist. The claim comes from Jones, as a civil war has broken out within President Donald Trump's MAGA movement. Okay, no, it hasn't. Let me walk this through. There are many people that pretend to be something that they're not, and use the platform to divide and conquer people. And that's what you're seeing now. And now the self-immolation of all these influencers, confluencers in some way has blown up. Ian Carroll, Nick Fuentes, MTG, you name it, whatever. It doesn't even matter. Shipwreck is another one. But I don't think she was ever MAGA anyway. She was I always felt that she was a lefty Democrat anyway, who somewhere came to the well of conversation with Trump because she got, in some way, one of those fence sitters like Dave Smith, all right, who claims he's a libertarian. And I think those are those people that are never really fully on your side. So here we are. As a prominent conservative influencer, including Carlson, is broken from the president over his foreign policy, the Justice Department handling the Epstein files. The claim is Jones raised concerns that Carlson, a former Fox News host, conservative journalist, being listed as a potential domestic terrorist in post-Wednesday morning acts. Tucker Carlson and Fuentes both have been named as possible domestic terrorists, according to Trump administration counterterrorism official Seb Gorka. Jones wrote. It's not true. Not true at all. He pointed to the remarks of Gorka made during the interview, which came out on Breitbart, it was like 5 or 6 days, like the 9th it came out. Breitbart editor-in-chief Alex Maslow, or I think it's Marlow, when asked whether or not they revealed counterterrorism strategy covers right-wing extremism. He said, when asked, well, they're just left-wing terrorist groups on your new counterterrorism, a national counterterrorism directive you just put out. He said, well, just because you can't really count Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes as conservatives, essentially saying they're extremists or terrorists, Jones said. Again, they're taking this and extrapolating this out into something else. Gorka did not use the term potential domestic terrorist to describe either Carlson or Fuentes during the interview published tonight. During the interview, Maslow asked Gorka if he regards right-wing extremism as a threat at all, noting he would assume there's a little bit, but the U.S. is a big country. Gorka focused comments largely on the administration's investigation of the Southern Poverty Law Center, which prosecutors have alleged paid at least $3 million to people affiliated with the Ku Klux Klan. Okay, the administration said he's not seeing comparable trend lines to violence to this. All right, I want to show you the next article. Now, I want you to understand it some way. My throat's bothering me. Here's the radar one. I'm going to show you the slant here. This is the slant. So Donald Trump brands right-wing firebrand Tucker Carlson and domestic terrorists as MAGA civil war implodes. And where did this article say President Trump or anybody in the administration? See how they're running with it? I'll blow this up. And so now you have a bunch of rags that are running this and saying, we got to take them out. We got to kill them. They're domestic terrorists. We got to arrest them. Again, they're putting this out in some way. If you go against the administration, if you say anything to counter the narrative, here you go. Donald Trump has plunged deeper into increasingly bitter MAGA feud after one of his top counterterrorism officials appeared to liken former Fox News Tucker Carlson to an extreme figure amid a widening civil war. RadarOnline.com can reveal the extraordinary clash that erupted after Gorka, Trump's senior director of counterterrorism, discussed Carlson and a white nationalist commentator, Nick Fuentes, during an interview. All right, in some way. MAGA civil war keeps escalating, and this is the narrative they want to see. Critics on both the left and right seize the remarks as evidence of a movement increasingly fractured by ideological purges and loyalty tests. Let's come back to the right-wing extremism. Do you regard it as a threat at all? Marlow asked Gorka in the interview. Let's come back to right-wing. Do you regard it as a threat at all? I mean, is there any? I guess that's the question. I'm assuming there's a little bit, because it's a big country. There's a little bit of everything. Gorka replied, right now, we're not seeing comparable trend lines to violence on the right as we see in the left. That's what he said. But they're leading with this in some way. The agitprop and how they're moving this perception management that the director of counterterrorism said we need to seek out and go after to attack Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes is not a conservative. He never was. He's a fence sitter, libertarian, probably most likely a Democrat his whole life. He lives in Chicago. All right. He was there in some way to be paid counter propagandist in some way to define and to, I think, in some way mediate the narration and divide it from within the Trump administration. He never was. He's a moderate Democrat. He's a self-admitted moderate Democrat. And also, he never voted for Trump in 2024. He admitted that he didn't even vote for him in 2020. So the idea that you consider that Fuentes is in this at all categorically, all right, is a blatant lie. But as we talk about Tucker, what happened with Tucker? See, Gorka never claimed, he never purported or alleged or suggested the terms extremists or domestic terrorists. All right, there's no labeling. The sensational, let's just say, striking, sheer fiction that you're seeing the narrative played out, even though Newsweek made sure that there were corrections in place. Do they follow as conservatives, he said. It's a legit and base conversation. Are they right-wing threats? He did not say that. He said there might be some, but he didn't point directly to them. The misrepresentation of Gorka's rhetorical point about who counts as if a conservative or not amid foreign policy dispute debates and ongoing, let's just say, contradictory peddling of lies that the agitprop takes over. And so this further leads to more of a discussion of the divide and conquer narrative. And Newsweek did a decent job of breaking that up, Marshall. But I wanted to show you how Radar Online went out of its way to make sure it came directly from Trump's mouth.
Yeah, you know, I still have a feeling that Tucker is not. We don't know what Tucker is.
I'm not even saying that.
Well, no, I'm not saying you are. There's something with him that they're doing all. There's a lot of mindfuckery going on with this. Mm-hmm. Now, Nick Fuentes, I get it. The guy is a libertarian type, really Democrat, whatever, and he's very good at what he does. He is definitely trained. Obviously, like you mentioned, he's from Chicago. Well, who's from Chicago? Obama. That's the home of what do they call it? Community organizers. Mm-hmm. So it belies the fact that Fuentes is from Chicago. That he's got the same mindset as Obama.
Yeah,
that's what I feel.
Well, Newsweek did a good job of basically taking the Breitbart interview. I think it was Alex Moreau, they spelled his last name wrong, but with Sebastian Gorka, and resetting the discussion properly and fixating on the idea that you saw New York Post and Radar Online put out saying that it came from Trump's directive to seek out and go after Tucker and Nick Fuentes. That is simply not true. It's not true. And this, the further the push, again, the more firestorm of the firebrands to go after them in some way and saying, see, if you don't have this fealty test, this loyalty test, you're out. And I'm showing you the agitprop, the propaganda, the more lies, the more dysfunction on how they try to sway and influence or confluence the audience with this narrative. It never happened. And this is just a firestorm to set up more discussions internally. What he's saying is that we should look at different groups for what they are and what they have become and how they act. He didn't mention any of the types of language or verbiage or linguistics, okay, that were made and said. And he didn't even call out Fuentes. He focused on Tucker. But all he said was questioning whether or not, as legit and base discussion, are they conservatives? And I would say, I would venture to guess that there's no way that Nick Fuentes is. He's a self-admitted. He says he's a moderate Democrat. He's never voted for Trump. Okay, well then there you go. Tucker's never said that. He just says, I regret voting for him this time around. Doesn't mean that he's not a conservative, but something is off with him. And what he was trying to be baited into is to go after Tucker specifically and look like the Trump administration is going to target him because he failed a loyalty or fealty test. That was exactly what it's about. And that's what I'm trying to say. All I'm saying is Brett dropped her like a hot potato. Trump won a trusty term. All I'm saying is Brett dropped her like a hot potato. Who's the hot one?
Yeah, I don't know. Who are you talking about?
Come on, who are you talking about? What's going on? I don't know what's going on. What do you say? I'm like, I got to look at the chat. Trump won. Thank you for the cookie. Would you say, what's up? 717 gold pill donation. Thank you. Need more gold pill love. Thank you, Thea, for the can. And Hogley 71 for the cookie. What? Tell me who you're talking about. Let me know. Mike Lowry from Washington brought Murray into politics, the state capital Olympia. Told her she was going nowhere. That's funny, Alita. Oh, yeah, you're from Washington. What's that?
Shipwrecked is who she's talking about.
Oh, yeah.
I dropped her too, dude.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Be careful with these fucking influencers, man.
Well, no, she's definitely like a Dave Smith libertarian, stay-at-home mom.
Good talker.
Yeah, that realized she garnered a platform for money because she said the right things, and now she's not even posting anymore because she got called out. A lot of people sort through her nonsense, and she's feigning all the angst. Oh, I can't afford this, can't afford that, can't get new tires, you're the only one that's struggling, okay? But you want to blame everything on Trump. And you don't get how things work in life, okay? See, there are two or three kinds of people. There's people that blame. There's people that take ownership of such blame. And there's people that do who don't point fingers at anything. That's what you're dealing with, a lot of people. What's up, G. Westbury? Gifted a subscription to the We Are Rise show. Thank you so much. Was gifted a membership by that. Nog Dog got one. Tucker claims he grew up in the CIA. Yeah, he did. His father was a CIA agent. You even heard Putin when he interviewed Putin said, "You're the CIA." You heard him say it. So look, I'm not throwing shade on Gorka, but I think Sebastian Gorka got totally taken out of context, and they were trying to set up, because there's a lot of people who don't like Seb Gorka. I'm not a big fan of him either, but I'll defend him here because he didn't say it, because I watched the interview. All right, James O'Keefe exposing people inside the Trump administration, and now it's reported that his correspondent, he can't even get a correspondent's license in there now. He was turned down. I wonder why. And who is putting these people in the White House? Susie Wiles? Who's in charge of hiring these people?
Guerrilla journalist James O'Keefe has historically trained his sting operations on left-wing targets. His most recent victims have included a Fox News executive and now a pair of domestic policy officials inside the Trump White House. Maxim Lott, seen here at screen left, was brought on board as a special assistant to the president for domestic policy. Benjamin Elliston at screen right was serving until yesterday's White House action, placing him on administrative leave as a senior budget analyst in the White House Office of Management and Budget. The swiftness of the action taken against Elliston is easy to understand once you hear the comments he was caught making to O'Keefe's operative.
We have to get rid of Trump. Seriously. He's a mess. He's for everybody. Yeah. You gotta get rid of him. Yeah. With him at the top, it's next to impossible to do anything. He's a madman. Literally.
Lott has since defended his comments, reportedly asserting that nothing he said contradicts the president or his agenda, but his remarks to the O'Keefe Media Group were hardly flattering either.
Like, the decision-making processes are a little bit I think it's just the overall tone and, the government right now is a little bit unusual. There's no this will cost $10 million, but save people $20 million. There's nothing like that. It's just it feels like a good idea, or the base supports this or other side.
It's not at all clear that when these individuals were caught in James O'Keefe's sting operations, are showing up at these locations and finding themselves surreptitiously recorded, that they understand at all that they're meeting with a journalist. I think the common term used is honey trap, and so many times in these sting videos we see the victims of them saying, are you sure you're not a spy? Because the questions you're asking are exactly the type of way you get information out of people like me. There is almost such a willingness to believe here, and that is key to the wool being pulled over these people's eyes. Mr. O'Keefe himself posted online on social media, if you're meeting with a 10 and you yourself are a 5, it's because I hired her.
That's funny. So to answer your question, Boneless Chicken, is that recently it came out that their correspondent that applied for application to the White House to have someone there as a reporter was turned down, and now it was denied. And after multiple refusals, it just came down that I think in some way they're not going to have someone from O'Keefe Media in there because we don't know why. Now, this could be blowback. I don't know who's doing it, who's in charge. We know that Caroline Leavitt is away for maternity leave. We don't know who's in charge filling that role. Is Susie Wiles involved with this? I don't know. She's having breast cancer treatment. So, I mean, I don't know who's pushing back on it. I think we need more clarification. We need to find out what's going on, Marshall, because is James O'Keefe a liability? Because he easily and comfortably finds these 10s, these young madams, to expose these 5s, these men who are not good looking at all, who have a vitriol for the Trump administration or whatever else that they're doing, that they're nestled in, that their feelings can somehow come out after a couple of cocktails and they can't handle themselves.
Yeah, I saw this a few days ago, and this is not the only guy in Trump's administration that's a turncoat.
Right.
You can guarantee that.
No.
And that's, of course, with probably every other previous administration. They're working against you. Anywhere you can find them, get rid of them, if this is true.
Well, the guy is suspended. Apparently, one of the guys or both of the guys is suspended. And there's pushback about this now. They're saying he was set up. I'm hearing a lot of smack talk about James O'Keefe is not getting a correspondent license to be in there in the press pool in some way. Question is why? We don't know. I mean, I have to look this up a little bit more. Didn't O'Keefe just get raided and they took all his guns? Yeah. And then he got his guns back. A judge reversed that order. Senor Polo. True Terror, what's up? Thank you for the $10 Rumble Rant. Some money for soothing aloe vera from from his grinder date. JK, Marshall. He's just joking around. Thank you, G. Westbury. Did you get another?
I don't know what grinder is.
It's like a gay Tinder.
Oh, okay.
It's a joke. All right. So, when you're not here, they want to know where you are. And I'm like, he's on a date. And then so, how people's imaginations run wild.
Yeah.
Thank you, G. Westbury, for the subscription. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I see everybody up here. Yeah, Megan, Tucker, Flynn, Stone, Candace. Now everyone. Yeah, Nick. But Nick was never. Okay? Nick was never. I would say even Megan was never. I don't know about Stone. I think Stone is totally President Trump's right-hand guy. I think he is a Republican. He served in the Reagan administration, served in the Nixon administration. He's a loyalist to President Trump, okay? He just doesn't like certain people. He doesn't like the meatball, okay? He doesn't like DeSantis at all. And there are many conservatives inside this party that don't like DeSantis and Loomer. Fucking can't stand Loomer. A lot of people can't stand. I can't stand her either.
I can't either.
Because she's out of control now. He, whatever it is. I mean, at this point and stuff, why does it have some type of press pass or inside the defense, and yet O'Keefe doesn't? But again, some of these things are just odd in general. I don't know what's going on about this, but I think there's something else that we're not seeing. Okay. Eurasia Daily, U.S. intelligence investigation has been launched into biolabs on Ukraine. Do you think this Fauci discussion was coincidental? Could be. But you're hearing this. This came out yesterday. U.S. National Intelligence Service will conduct an investigation into American biolabs in Ukraine. Is that the biolabs that Hunter Biden owned? What about the Fauci biolabs? This was announced today, May 12th, by the head of the department, Tulsi Gabbard. This is not going to be good, ladies and gentlemen. This whole thing is going to blow up. The fact you're going to find out that there are biolabs. And then there's an area, a place where the biolabs happen to be called CHY-Na, CHY-Na. This is not going to be good on every level. So where did it come out of? It came out of China? China, or China-Ukraine? We'll find out. An EA Daily reported more than a year ago the correspondence materials between ACCU Reference Medical Lab and U.S. military attaché in Armenia. Lieutenant Colonel Kevin Steele got online. The documents indicate the conduct of studies related to the modification of foot and mouth disease, gross, FMD, SA2, stereotype. The letters emphasize the need to send and analyze biological samples from the border regions of Turkey and Armenia, as well as to conduct tests and modify SA2 stereotype. It is noted that all the information should be under control of the Pentagon. The leak fits into the well-known facts of financing facilities in Armenia since 2008. The Biological Threat Reduction Program, BTRP, supervised DTRA division of the U.S. Department of Defense, directly linked to the Pentagon, and is actively supporting the creation and modernization of facilities in the region. Officially, this is done to track dangerous pathogens and anthrax. Okay, so like in the Sudan and in many other parts outside our country, we have biolabs that are set up that are, let's just say, that are run off book under the guidance and tutelage of the Department of Defense through the Army and through many Army military divisions. Yep, that's what's happening. Whether they're testing these things, looking for cures, the Army also handles on I forget what base that is, that they handle biomedical types of thing, all these pathogens in some way, anthrax, you name it. You name all the really bad diseases, all the biogerm wars. So it's not like this is new in some way. The question is, were these some way set up? Now, the story was that we go back to in 2009, 10, what have you, leading up to the Ukraine-Russia war, where we got to about, like 2014, where Russia decided to annex Crimea. I think it's around there. I want to say it's around there. It's because Russia was realizing that the United States was setting up these biolabs on the Crimean border all over the place. They were setting up shop everywhere. And the fear that Russia was going to be what? In some way facing a biological disaster from the Obama administration. Yeah, there was a lot of things that the government was doing and they were plotting for. I wonder if we're going to hear this testimony. I don't know if this is going to come out, but is this an inkling? Is this the arbiter? Is this the providence of the rationale and reasoning why Russia annexed Crimea? Was this because of the fall of Ukraine after the assassination and the stage orchestration of an Operation Gladio inside that type of country at the time? Something to think about. I got another one here. This comes from the New York Post. Get Marshall's take on it. Like, share, and subscribe. Drop us a gold pill, comments, questions, or concerns. You want to support the platform, you could do so like True Terran over here, dropping a $25 bone. Seriously, I appreciate you guys. Thank you. No, I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you for always supporting the platform. You want to help out Marshall? Ko-fi.com/surfdog74. Let's continue on. I'm glad we're having new subject matter to talk about because I like to talk about these things. I don't like talking about Iran and all this other stuff. The biolabs, the Fauci leak, COVID, it's all tied together. It's all tied together. So DNI Tulsi Gabbard probes U.S. funding to more than 120 biolabs abroad. Now, the question is, are they owned and operated by the Department of Defense? Or are they independently owned and controlled by various other countries or corporations? And how did they get the directive to go there? Who signed off on this? The Director of National Intelligence, Ms. Gabbard, is investigating more than 120. How did Hunter Biden have his own medical facility? And we're not talking just the measuring of blood and testing, all these other things. We're talking the trafficking of organs, the trafficking of children, the trafficking of human biological parts. We're talking a lot of shit. We're talking some really serious, deep, dark stuff. The harvesting of organs. We're talking about taking humans alive and taking out their body parts and trafficking them, doing testing on them. We're talking a lot more than just going about examining and looking into and investigating biomedical experimentation on batshit disease drugs that are biochemical weapons. Gabbard told the Post on Monday in a statement that her team is going to identify these labs and what the pathogens they contain and what research. This is bigger than that. See, it's not saying the other stuff that we're talking about or what we're suggesting or what we're implying, but is being conducted to end dangerous gain-of-function research that threatens the health and well-being of American people and the world. COVID-19 pandemic revealed catastrophic global impact research on dangerous pathogens. I think this is so much bigger, ladies and gentlemen. I really do. Yet, despite these obvious dangers, politicians, so-called health officials like Dr. Fauci, entities with the Biden administration, national security team lied to the American people about the existence of U.S.-funded support biolabs. Okay, yeah. And so they lied about him. No one even knew they had him, okay, in Ukraine until it was exposed. And now this whole thing is cat out of the bag. How many people, Marshall, do you think the normie class thinks they know about all this stuff? I bet you they don't know anything about this stuff. And also, let me continue on with the idea and supposition. I'll make a guesstimate. I guessed in so many ways. I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to lead to biolabs that are not just testing, okay, pathogens and testing this. We're talking human organ trafficking, body part trafficking, children trafficking, blood harvesting, you name it. Adrenochrome, all that stuff. 120 biolabs. Why do you have 120? Are they all wholly controlled by the United States Defense Department? Or are these singly out individual corporations? Can anybody own one? Let's find out those names. Thanks again, True Terran. I appreciate it. Marshall, your thoughts.
Yeah, with Crimea, Russia, Putin knew. He knew that they were going to put in place in Zelensky. I guarantee he knew it. Mm-hmm. And he took Crimea, try to create a buffer zone. And then when you go to what you're talking with all these biolabs, if you think that the Fauci thing with the beagles and putting bugs around their head was bad, this whole thing, which you mentioned, Brett, it's 1,000 times worse. I mean, they're operating and cutting people and taking out organs while they're still alive with nothing to just go right in. Strap them down, go right in. It is a Frankenstein situation.
I think so. That's a great analogy. I think it is. There's definitely a Dr. Frankenstein or multiple Dr. Frankensteins working in these facilities. It's kind of reminds me of what Escape from L.A. when they had the Surgeon General from Beverly Hills come out. Guy's got Escape from L.A. if anybody's seen it. Never mind. It's a comedic joke, but it reminds me of really a dark scenario of where we are, of just moving and surgically just transforming. I would also say cloning's involved there. I would not be surprised that cloning's involved there at all. Senior Polo, get to the shades white when we put on another country setting up biolabs on the border. That's the point. We just don't know whose biolabs we're talking about. How did Hunter Biden have his own biolab? Can anybody explain that?
And cloning with animals.
Yeah.
This is why you see these weird animals that float up on the beaches over years. You see these things, you don't even know what the hell they are. They got
excuse me. So Jack Danger puts this out. Holy shit, the CIA just sees 40 boxes. This is what I was talking about of JK, MK Ultra documents that were actively being processed declassification by Tulsi Gabbard's National Intelligence Team. Read that again. The American people were finally about to learn the truth that the CIA reportedly swooped in and took the files back. Why? What's in those boxes that they're so terrified releasing? MK Ultra, JFK, mind control? Oh, can't tell anybody about that. Assassination files? My God. Deep state operations? Anapolino Luna is threatening subpoenas if the documents aren't returned within 24 hours. There's no longer a conspiracy theory territory. This means unelected intelligence agencies are actively overriding declassified process to keep the explosive secrets hidden from the public after 60 years, and they still don't want you to see what's inside. Yeah. The question is, what's going to happen? Their hand's going to be forced. I mean, look, they can't keep this hidden. But they can play games all they want. They can reshuffle this in some way, but I think in some way that the information will come out, and if people, let's put it this way, that are involved with controlling the narrative, well, they're going to face some type of criminal, let's just say, dangerous probe. That's why I think the whole discussion that we're going to see about a certain person, let me see if I have it here. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I don't think I have it. I thought I had it. Well, that's too bad. I was going to talk a little bit about Brennan, but I don't think I have it. Oh, wait. I do have it with Brennan. Here it is.
Sorry about it.
That's because of this. And I think a lot of people, because Brennan is scared. Let me cover this a little bit. This comes from OAN yesterday. Here we go. Trottier Brennan is backpedaling and may begin to sing. This is going on in Fort Pierce right now.
On Brennan, do you think he's in any real trouble now that Miami-based FBI agents are up at Langley asking questions?
Yeah, he's clearly backpedaling, Matt, and he is he's getting hit from various pressure points. I think it was this last night. He is saying that there is a legion. There is a legion of intelligence.
A legion, by the way, means demons. You ever seen the movie Legion? They're parademons. They take over your body. They take over you. Go look up. It's a good movie called Legion. Go watch it. I liked it.
Officers within the Trump administration that are actively working against. This is critical because just 4 months ago, he was questioned at a George Mason a panel where a NCTC analyst had questioned him about the Tulsi Gabbard email releases regarding the direct association that he has to orchestrating, as Roger Stone has said, and as I'm saying, the Russian collusion hoax. So the fact that he is now saying that there are members within the Trump administration that clearly the president himself should be wary of, questioning absolutely everybody that is working in the administration. The fact that John Brennan is now saying this tells me that he is backpedaling, and he may very well, Matt, he may soon begin to sing, as they say. That would be releasing names. The contents in the book should make the former director of the FBI very weary as to if I'm going to answer it, which is what I'm doing, the patriots that are on the ground that have collected information against his malfeasance and his alleged criminal activity.
All right, so if he does flip, what's the lighter sentence he'll get? I mean, honestly, you've committed treason and sedition against a sitting president. Well, you were directed to by Obama. So you're going to give up Obama for what? What are you going to give up Obama for? I mean, that's the question. You're not going to just get a pat on the back and say, "Good job, buddy." It's not going to work that way. You're not going to get off scot-free like that. I think the idea that these people are going to get off in some way, they'll make deals to maybe save their life from being executed. But let's face it, you're not walking away from this. You'll die in prison, right, Marshall? I mean,
yeah, that's what I think. I mean, he's got to do something. He's got to serve some kind of punishment. So it's like, I agree 100%, either death or life in prison.
What happened to executing treasonous, seditious people under U.S. 18 code? Was it 230? What happened to doing it? What? Yeah. What happened? Yeah. What happened to live hangings? I mean, they don't do it anymore. Do firing squads? That's fine. Let's do it. Instead of having this UFC fight on the lawn, we should pay-per-view fucking what? Live executions. You'd make a fortune, pay down the fucking deficit. You would pay down the deficit in one night because everybody throughout the world would want to see a live execution of big-name platforms. You bet your ass they would. You bet your ass.
Yeah, that would be great.
All right, a couple more things and we dip out of here.
Do it on the mall, right on the mall.
Oh, it's even better. That's even better. So Bryce Zabel, this is an author that worked with Richard Dolan with a couple of his books that he wrote. Bryce Zabel has done TV writing. He's also done other stuff. And he's come out and said he concludes the UFO disclosure is being rushed because there's some bad news involved. Bad news. Who's it bad news for? He also stated Chuck Schumer and leaders in Congress must have a fire at their back. What's the bad news? Interesting.
A reason why the powers that be in Washington, D.C. are starting to say we need to actually say the words out loud, and we need to get language in right now to get this taken care of. And I'm concerned, Ross, that at the end of the day, the only thing that would make a politician do that and act in that sort of enhanced way where they're in a hurry is that there's some bad news involved in this. And I don't know exactly what it is. And I know that you don't know exactly what it is. People are talking. It's hard to sort out what the sources mean or don't mean. But, you know, as I said, Chuck Schumer was and has been a cautious man in many cases. And I don't think he'd be talking like this and pushing this if he didn't think there was a fire behind his back pushing him to do so.
I don't know where he gets cautious man, though.
I've got a pretty clear idea of what the government knows, and I can understand why they're moving to expedite. Yes, there is a constraint of time. The government knows that it really does have to tell the truth to the public after years of treating this subject with derision.
Okay. Your thoughts. I mean, what? So why are they treating it? Look, we saw the rollout. I did the show on Friday. You could go, you know where to go to get it in some way. And then bi-weekly, they'll be putting out all this information about this. But what he's saying there in some ways that, what are they scared of about? What are they scared about learning in some way? I mean, there's a whole host of things that people shouldn't be scared about. They should be pissed off and angry about. That's how I reflexively push back about that. All right. I'm not scared about anything. All right. The truth is only scary to people who have spent decades upon decades, even longer, hiding it from you. That's what's scary to them, not to us. The truth shall set you free. But for them and for their overlords and their masters of the occult and the benefactors that profit off this, of this hidden agenda in some way, this truth embargo, we should not be scared about any of this stuff. We should invite as much, let's just say, impatience to this. Now, it's going to unfold one way or another. How it unfolds, where it goes, that's what we'll continue to follow. But in this matter, the perception management of this whole facilitation and orchestration that is just laid out for you to understand in some way, while we're starting to see all the embers start to kindle and light up and burn around Fauci, about the COVID narrative, about the CIA. So you start to see all these little fires that are pocketing everywhere before it becomes a freaking 5-alarm fire. And it starts burning down everything. It's out of control. They can't control it. And as much as they try in some way to control it by utilizing certain people to say certain things to get you to agree about this, and then other people tag this as saying, well, it's not really, it's not really this today, this whole thing with the CIA guy there, it's not really a big deal. I think it is a big deal. I think because there are many people that didn't see that don't know that, Marshall. And I think that what Bryce Zabel is saying here in some ways, that there are going to be people that are wholly scared, who have no idea about any of this stuff, and they're not going to handle it. And I told you, 20% of the country is already lost. So you might as well, I hate to say it, just give it away. It's over for them. They're not going to make it. They're not going to make it. Okay. And yes, I do believe in some way we're going to see more. We're going to see more suicides in the future, because revelations and information regarding this subject matter is not going to, in some way, help a population that blindly listens to the government all the time, like taking a jab, boosters, doing everything they can to follow their government's, let's just say, operation, a logical choice, if they think in some way their government tells them the truth. So if they believe that the government is telling them the truth, then this is going to be really upsetting to them because they've been lied to for so long. And now you're going to be like, wait a minute, why are you just telling me this now?
Yeah, those people, they're like you just said, they're either going to off themselves. I would recommend they just get off grid and just go move into the country somewhere. Go camp out, leave, just unplug, you know. I was very distracted, though, I'll have to say. Where they were filming, both guys, you know, I mean, it's not a hit on them, but everything around them looked like they were living in a garage. I mean, the whole background was scattered all over the place. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? It was very distracting, their whole setup, but you're right. I mean, people, like you just said, 20% are going to lose their shit because they believe the government, they trust the government too much, and they're like, okay, I'll just go with that and then go right my yard.
That's why I don't understand why isn't that testimony that we're hearing about? See, I think that testimony, okay, will be just one of many, whatever Gabbard finds and other things. But the revelations about these types of things that your government lied, the origins, the cover-up, they were involved, this whole thing was orchestrated out, all these things, how far does that go? And that, yes, the jabs were poisonous, they knew about it. Some had jabs that weren't, some did. See, a lot of these things, I don't know if it's going to go in, descend into a civil war or chaos. I think they're prepared for that in some way. Thank you, Theo, for 300 gold pills. But, you know.
The biolabs are going to break them.
I think the biolabs are going to be tough. I mean, you can't do an investigation and tell us that and not tell us what you found. You know, if you want to be transparent, you better tell us everything. I mean, that the problem with transparency is there's still a certain level of like opaqueness or opacity that not enough light shines through that gets through because the idea that someone still thinking they're not going to handle this well. But you aren't the arbiters to decide whether or not we can handle it or not. How about this one? This is another example of what I'm talking about. I applied to be the Pope, losing grip on reality while using ChatGPT. This is another example. When you use these AI platforms, Grok, ChatGPT, and all this other stuff, you can lose yourself. But some people have completely lost utilizing these things and thinking, wait a minute, you're not really communicating with something that's live. You're communicating something that was created by man to convince you that it's real, that's self-aware, that's sentient, as far as we know at the moment. But in a flurry of feverish discovery, he solved unlimited fusion energy, lifted the veil of mysteries of black holes, Big Bang, fully achieved Einstein's dream of signal unifying theory that explains how everything works. Feeling inspired by God, Miller then found the perfect way to share his revelations with a grateful world. Listen to this nut job. Mental disease, I mean, off the charts. And he's a Canadian. I applied to be Pope. The 53-year-old former prison officer in the Canadian city of Sudbury told AFP to write his application to replace recently deceased Pope Francis last year. Miller turned to the same companion that he had aided and encouraged his dizzying burst of invention, ChatGPT. Problem. But when no one wanted to hear about what he thought were world-changing breakthroughs, Miller became increasingly isolated, spending up to 16 hours a day talking to artificial intelligent chatbot. If you're spending 16 hours a day talking to these things, you got a problem. You got a health problem. He was twice involuntarily admitted to the hospital. There you go. And friends disabused of notions of scientific genius. Miller suffers from depression. It's basically ruined my life, he said. It's one of the unknown number of people who lost their grip on reality while communicating with chatbots and experience tentatively being called AI-induced delusion or psychosis. There's more to go. I don't want to read anymore. I think you get the gist. I think you understand why I'm saying right now, be careful about all this stuff. Spending hours upon hours of time on these platforms really mess with your head. They really do. You're communicating with things on X and other things that aren't even real. You know, they're not even real. Your thoughts, Marshall?
This is where we're going to slip into a matrix situation where people are literally living in a world that's not real.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's really what this guy was doing. I mean, he was living at 16 hours a day. I mean, you were living in a fake world, dude.
Yeah.
You're not even talking to a person. Just like half the shit on X or these other social, half of them are damn bots.
Yeah.
It's not even a person.
No.
So you're sitting there arguing back and forth with a fucking machine. I mute this shit.
Yeah.
I looked at where they're at and all. It's crazy.
Yeah.
People are gonna have to get. People are gonna have to get it ahead of themselves and get ahead of this shit.
Yeah. It's getting worse and worse, and I'm starting to wonder about a lot of things and where we're going with this. And I think there's not enough precautions on there. And the idea that you want to just, build these data centers, as Byron Donalds wants to do, which could dry up or put them in the Everglades. Well, is that why all the fires are happening in the Everglades in this, seamless strait of events? So you just dry up the Everglades, kill off all the wildlife and the wetlands, and then build data centers there, suck it dry, so it'll be an AI farm. That's not what I want. No.
I don't want any of them.
No, I don't want any of them either.
They make this loud humming noise. I mean, you don't want to be around that shit.
No, I don't want it either. Appeals court pauses Trump's $83 million payment to E. Jean Carroll pending the Supreme Court action. So apparently, this nut job, all right, is still owed this amount of money. The second U.S. Supreme Court of Appeals in New York issued an order on Monday after Trump asked for it to pause it in a ruling, denying him a chance to challenge the defamation award before the appeals court. The court granted Trump's request to pause the ruling, citing no objection from Carroll, so long as Trump agreed to raise the bond to $7.6 million to account for interest that accrue for her award. We are pleased for the second court condition the stay of President Trump posting a bond of nearly $100 million. Carroll's attorney, Roberto Kaplan, told NBC News in a statement, citing earlier, Trump has already posted this to bring the amount owed to $91 million prior to this. I can promise you right now, I'm not playing this. This is going to the Supreme Court. All right? This is going to be upended, and this is going to be upended in such a way it's going to be massive. You want to see this at the Supreme Court. You want to see how ugly this is going to be and exposing this rot. This is the last of all this stuff, but in some way, this has to be exposed. She has to be exposed as a fraud, and I believe that we will see this, and it will be part of more theatrical fireworks. All right, let's just close this out because we're getting late. Let's see. All right, let me just drop this because this was funny. I don't want to, yeah. I'll just drop this, and then I'll just release this stuff because that's the end of the show for tonight. I had more, but I'll save it for another night. I have more and stuff.
Right. Carol deserves what she's going to get. She's going to get it.
What's that?
E. Jean Carroll is going to get what she deserves.
Oh, yeah.
And the whole public is going to see this shit, and they're going to, the ones that are on the left, they're going to eat it hard.
Oh, yeah. So here we go. This is from the roast of Kevin Hart. This was funny. Shane Gillis going at it versus Chelsea Handler, calling Chelsea Handler a Zionist, that she's had more abortions scraped than Benihana's. It's pretty funny. Pretty fucking funny. He went after her hard, calling her out, dating black guys. It just basically just ripped her to pieces. But this was a funny bit. I thought Shane Gillis really rose and shine here.
Now that your favorite leader is making the draft mandatory, I assume that all of you will be signing up to go fight in Iran. Or do you tough-talking pussies only go to the Middle East for comedy festivals?
And she's not even funny. He's like not even laughing.
Chelsea is a Zionist. I'm not saying that's good or bad. Speaking of dead kids, she's a big fan of abortions.
This is brutal.
Chelsea's been scraped more times than the grill at Benihana.
Oh, Jesus.
Speaking of tossing tiny shrimp into a child's mouth, Chelsea Handler went to dinner at Jeffrey Epstein's house in 2010.
It's brutal.
It's just a fun one. You can look it up. There's articles. It wasn't like a big party. There was like 7 people there. And it was like Prince Andrew and Woody Allen were there.
And Shane, just so you know, Judaism and Zionism are two different things. Kind of like how Chinatown and Koreatown are two different things, but your favorite slur works in both places.
So they were going back and forth, and she was trying to mock him in some way because he always wrecks on Asian people in some way. But I thought that was funny. She couldn't handle, and other people noticed that how bad she was with her delivery. Even Tony Hitchcock, because Hitchcock, he was great. He was fantastic in it. But he was pointing out, and a lot of people pointed out, it's like she wasn't funny. She took offense to being called out for being at Jeffrey Epstein's. That's what the one thing that drove her over the map in some way. But I digress. I left out I dropped all the gold pills and stuff. I had more, but I'll save the rest for another time. Marshall, your thoughts?
Yeah, she's part of the whole Hollywood satanic shit.
Yeah.
You know, she's up there with her tits, you know, doing the tit thing, the cleavage deal.
Mm-hmm.
She's just disgusting. She reminds me of that blonde lady that's on CNN every now and then. I forget her name, but she is nasty.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Chandler.
Yeah, Chelsea Handler. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
she's going to get everything coming back to her, I guarantee you.
Oh, yeah. She's just... G. Westbury, you obviously didn't dig too deep or you would have found his FBI CIA connections. I don't understand what do you mean by that. Okay. Well, cool. I've seen the truth. No changing my mind. All right. I guess that wasn't directed towards me. You guys are all talking amongst themselves. Okay. Thank you again, True Terran, for the $10 Rumble Rant. True Terran for the $25 Rumble Rant. Thank you, G. Westbury, for buying did you buy? Yeah, I think you did. You bought a subscription or you donated it. You gifted a subscription. Thanks again. Yeah, Chesty Handler. Exactly. Terrible Trump one. She's terrible. And she was so bad during that roast. She's a nasty woman. Yeah, she's had like 5-6 abortions. She brags about it. It's just disgusting.
She's getting pee in her mouth on the boat when she's swimming out there.
She's a very gross woman. Disgusting woman. Disgusting. And I think it was righteous of him to call her out.
Yeah.
I mean, she is not funny at all. Yeah. I mean, why isn't she getting blowback as a Zionist for attending Epstein's 2010 gala? That's right after he got out of jail with Woody Allen. It's pretty sick, huh? In some way. Hypocrites. They seem to get away with everything, and it's embarrassing. It's so embarrassing. But you want to call Trump all these things and say all these things about Trump. But you're the one who attended dinner with him. Yeah, thank you, Brando Bean, for the ship. Great job, guys. Really enjoyed your show. Thank you so much for supporting the platform. I will not be here on Friday. I'll be out of town. I'm going to try and return on Sunday, or I might do a show tomorrow. But I have some things going on that I have to dip out of town and stuff for a couple of days. But that's our show for tonight. Thanks, Marshall. We will see you next week. Have a good evening, everybody. Hopefully I can return tomorrow. If not Sunday, I will see you then. Yeah, show was great. It's pretty sad about what we're seeing about what's going on. But the exposure is real. The truth embargo is ending on everything. And that's the one thing that we should feel good about, that they can no longer hide it from us. The perception management no longer is controlling the narrative. Good night. Ciao, Bella, everybody.
Good night.